1980, I started sharecropping tobacco. At that time, you could get started farming by those means because you didn't have to have anything but your own labor. So, started sharecropping tobacco in 1980 and gradually increased my tobacco over the years. In 1998, I had 91 acres of tobacco. It was my biggest crop, my biggest year, and I still have tobacco. My farm operation right now, I have 140 brood cows, mama cows, keep 120 ewes, 20 sow, fair to finish, 400 layers, and I also have 25 goats, does, mama goats, which is just a hobby that got way out of hand along the line, but that's what happened. I have, of course, hay, grow corn, wheat, and tobacco. I'm going to talk a little bit to start with about the hair sheep and continue forward with a little bit of discussion about them. When hair sheep first came here, which was through some producers that had an alliance with Food City. Does anyone here remember this occurring? I'm sure it did. Scott County Hair Sheep Association had an alliance with Food City. And to be completely honest with you, it was a political program, so to speak, and it worked out very, very well. And it was instituted by Congressman Rick Boucher out of Southwest Virginia. And it was a great deal. It was a great deal in several respects. Food City got the grant money to put in all these elaborate coolers and so on and so forth, and then the producers had a place to sell their sheep. So here come the hair sheep, and everybody said they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You don't have to do anything with them. Kick them out in your backyard. You're going to have lambs. They're going to bring a lot of money. So lots and lots of folks got in the hair sheep business. I did not. I'm more of a traditional type farmer. I'm not interested in whims or new things coming. So I watched that thing for a while. And folks got to realizing that hair sheep are difficult. They're not that easy. A lot of people overpopulated them. There's 10 things that kill hair sheep. Parasites, 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 and dogs. Now that's what happens. We have a lot of problems with parasites. I won't tell you that we don't. We do. Hair sheep, this is not an area that hair sheep are naturally adapted to. Okay? The southeast is too hot. It's too humid. Now, the heat's fine, but the humidity's the problem. So, maybe 100 years from now, hair sheep will have evolved genetically that this is not an issue, but it's a very real issue now. Our ewes go into jugs, much like Mr. Ed talked about there. We use some of our porta huts that we actually used to farrow some sows outside in. We put those in the shop this last week particularly. My lambs, as you can see here, we're a couple of boys, that's me, and a boy that works for me. You got to be sure that mother hasn't developed mastitis. Now, we have a lot of mastitis problems in our ewes. You don't see it. Maybe we keep the lambs on too long or whatever, and the lamb's hammer and the ewe's udders causes some problems. So we have some problems. So we got to check those ewes, be sure she's got a quarter on both sides. And then if she does have mastitis, then that ewe needs to be marked, that ewe needs to be culled out after she raises her lambs. But if you've got a ewe that's got 1/4, you didn't know she had 1/4 until she lambed in, you got 2 lambs, so then you got bottle lambs. I don't like bottle lambs. I don't like to fool with them. it's not worth the investment, but it's something that you have to do. We can graft some lambs on other ewes. We can try to. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. If it worked, it's generally a very, very long process. It doesn't happen overnight. We have some head gates that we put the ewes in. I supplied Earth Fair markets for 4 years. To go to Earth Fair markets, and the Earth Fair location that I supplied is the Johnson City location. Earth Fair is what you call a big carcass market. They only take lambs that kill 100-pound live. Now let me tell you something. You don't wean a hair lamb off at 80 pounds and take it to 100 pounds overnight. They're very slow to gain. People's told me, oh, they do this, they do that. I never experienced it myself. It takes a while. So to go to Earth Fair at that time, couldn't go directly to Earth Fair. You had to go through a broker out of North Carolina. That just gets a little bit of your money for, I really don't know for what reason, but that's just how it worked. So I went to Earth Fair for 4 years. After Earth Fair, I went to Fresh Market in Lexington for 2 years. Same thing, through a broker. At that time, I was running 350 ewes, and I decided I'm just not interested in doing this. This is too much work. It's too volatile a market. There's no security in it. So I decided I'm going to cut back. Sold 230 ewes, and I went back, if you will, on the open market. Now, if you send lambs to New Holland, you better send them through the co-op, or you better take them yourself. And if you take them yourself, you better keep your eyes on them the whole time you're there. For some reason, I don't know what the attraction is. There are more crooks in this business, and I can tell you firsthand, it's unbelievable. I had some lambs that were switched. I had a guy hauling lambs for me. They were switching them in Whittle. I didn't know they were switching them in Whittle. But the Department of Agriculture in Pennsylvania already had them under suspicion. So they come back to the University, or to Virginia Department of Agriculture, and they want me to chip my lambs so they can catch them. Well, I didn't do it. I should have, but I didn't do it. And in finding all that out, you wouldn't imagine that there's that much problems in that industry, but there is. So I was able to sell enough lambs that I got hooked up with a packer in Atlanta. So that's where my lambs go now. Hair sheep will not bring as much money as wool sheep, okay? The lambs don't bring as much money. If you look at the New Holland Sales Stables market report, which comes out every Monday, it will say non-traditional. Hair sheep are non-traditional. Sheep, for the most part, are consumed by specific ethnic groups. They tend to be higher around specific holidays. That's not always the case. Last year, Easter in New Holland was a disaster because they had about 5 times the amount of lambs there that market will absorb. The New Holland market will absorb about 2,500 lambs a week. If it's over that, it will be tremendously discounted. If it's under that, they'll be higher. Now, the reason New Holland controls the sheep market is all of the packers, most of the packers that process sheep in the United States are in Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. They've always been there. So all of these buyers figured out many years ago, you know, if we go to one market, we don't have to go to every little market to buy lambs. Let's just go to one market. And I know that because a grandson of a guy that runs a packing house in Maryland told me that story. They all got together. So now, if you go to Greencastle on Monday in Pennsylvania and take lambs, They're going to be in New Holland the next week. No matter where you go, they're going to New Holland. So that's why New Holland is such a huge, and it sets the pace. East of the Mississippi River, the market, New Holland sets it, the price, week in, week out. So you're going to take less money for your lambs if you have hair lambs, and they're going to be lighter. There's been a lot of talk over the course of the last few years about putting wool rams on hair ewes, and all the lambs go to market. And I think it's a great idea. I personally haven't tried it because I know some folks that maybe haven't selected the right ram to use, the right breed to use, and they've had lots of problems. However, Mr. Ed could probably tell you better than I can tell you. There's some breeds that it seems to work. The textile, I think some people are having some success with that. If you could get a lambing ease ram, if you could get that, the Dorset seems to be very successful cross. As I said, I haven't tried it myself, but I think that certainly in the future that may very easily be some direction for the hair sheep. Excuse me. My hair sheep are either Katahdin or Katahdin Dorper crosses. I don't particularly care for either one, purebred. I think they have pluses and minuses in both, but I will tell you, if they're crossbreds, some variation of either one, they're going to be very hard to beat. 170% lamb crop. That's what we shoot for. We're not going to get it this time. We've been lambing since December. We're not going to get it. Can't tell you why. We're having too many singles. I don't have a clue as to why. Perhaps some form weather related. We didn't do anything differently. We feed our ewes. When our pasture starts running out and we put hay out, we feed our ewes about a pound, pound and a half of feed a day. And then we continue that pretty much all winter until we go back out on grass again. Last winter I wintered my ewes on silage. This year I don't have enough silage for that. It's a very, very good feed source. It's a very good product. You have to be careful with it. Can't get too much mold on it or you'll have some issues. But if you feed as much as we do and keep the face, what they say, keep the face of the trench clean, you remove it very quickly so air doesn't get to it. That's what causes silage that spoils air. Then we've had very good success with feeding you silage. I'll talk a little bit about the
Which one?
the hogs. I keep 20 sows. I've kept 20 sows for a long, long time. All of our hogs are sold at our farm through sausage sales. All of them. In fact, sometimes we even buy a few. It's taken a long time to get to this level. I don't mind telling you. If you've got years and years and years and a big portion of your life to devote to it, then you can sure do it. We farrow in crates. I don't like anything else. I've had other things. I don't like it. My first farrowing house was a farrowing house that my dad and I, he helped me redo an old garage, and we built it according to some plans from the University of Tennessee. You're gonna, if you read about folks that are opposed to specific elements, if you will, of modern agriculture, they're opposed to these. This is the most comfortable, humane way to start baby pigs. They're warm. It's in a warm environment. The mother can't lay on them. We have heat lamps. This room also has heat. It's great. It's a great place to start pigs.
I've seen Tony's sows come up to the edge and lay down for him to pet them. These pigs are pampered.
They are pampered. These are nursery pens. These are some girls that I kept for replacement gilts. In fact, these two right here were raised on a bottle. They're not supposed to be in there when they're that big, but it's cold and we just didn't want to kick them outside. And anyway, they're not supposed to be in there. I lost some of my buildings in the tornado year before last. It went right directly over the top of my farm there at Eastern Star. I had tremendous damage. So I've got my sows in with my boar in this picture here on concrete. My sows generally run on dirt. Besides the time that they're in the farrowing house, they run on dirt. I like it the best. It's very difficult to keep them from tearing the place up, but I like my sows on dirt. This is looking from the back of my finishing floor to the front. I don't know, is that the only picture we have, Dana? My finishing floor is a Cargill style floor. It was built off a set of plans from 1952. It is a shed roof on the back. This concrete area here, block walls, feeders along the front, automatic waters on each side. Actually, about where we would be back in here is under shelter. So it's a very old design. Certainly it's not a confinement system by no stretch of the imagination. These things no longer exist in the industry today, so to speak. But this appealed to me. I didn't want hogs inside. I didn't want slated forage. I had no appeal to me. Not interested in that. If that's the way I was going to have to do it, number one, I don't think it would be financially viable. But number two, I'm not interested in that. One thing I thought about earlier, if we were here 50 years ago, in 1966, and I was going to get up here and talk about hogs or poultry, this room would be full. Be full of people. If we came back here in 1976, there'd still be a lot of hog people here. There would be very, very few poultry people here. By 1986, there wouldn't be anybody here. Those industries on this scale no longer exist.
Well, there's not a killing facility in Tennessee now.
If you sell meat in the state of Tennessee, you have to be federally inspected. For a 350-pound hog, which is about what we want to use for sausage production, it costs me approximately $170 just to kill and process. We supply some restaurants. If you want to get in trouble real quick, process them yourself and sell them out of your house. Because they have a person that works East Tennessee that's their only job. And this came along somewhere or another with the Homeland Security package. I don't fully understand it, but they want to keep their job, and they got a pretty good job. So they really, really look out. They got 3 people at the Jonesboro flea market year before last. Cost them $10,000 apiece. That was their fine. So anyway, it's certainly in some sense a protective measure. When I was a kid, the sausage that folks sold off their farms would have been a lot, and nobody thought anything about it. But nonetheless, if you do sell meat in the state of Tennessee to the public, they have a no-hands policy. Basically, it means you can't do anything with it with your own hands. It has to be put in the package in the facility where it is processed under federal inspection. You wanted to move on to the poultry?
Yep.
Am I going too fast?
You're doing perfect. You got 10 minutes. Oops. Where I had them.
Use Yorkshire and Duroc.
I use Yorkshire, Duroc, Landrace, and Hampshire. Landrace is the newest breed I used. I stuck with 3 breeds for a long, long time and went with Landrace. Really liked the Landrace mothers. Durocs are my favorite breed. Duroc's what I would call a one-man sow. The ones I had, couldn't get in with them if they had pigs. They'd absolutely eat you up. For me, wouldn't bother me. They're very smart. They're very intelligent. We think of Durocs and Hampshires more in a terminal cross. We think of the white breeds more as mothering ability. Now that's It's not carved in stone. There's excellent mothers in Durocs, and there's excellent mothers in Hampshires. But by and large, the white sows are the more maternal lines. That was a connection I had in high school. Mr. Ed's mother, we could talk about hogs, because they had a hog operation. Poultry has probably been the thing closest to my heart all of my life. I had poultry when I was a child, 4-H and FFA. We've sold eggs there. My mother sold eggs there for over 50 years. And I continue to this day. I can't tell you if it's very lucrative or not. I don't absolutely have a clue. We make our own feed. We grow our own corn. We make our own hog feed. I don't think we could be in the hog business if we didn't make our own hog feed. I'm not sure we could be in the poultry business if we didn't make our own poultry feed. I make it 20%. I work with a company that y'all probably heard of called Cargill, that I had no idea they would work with me, as small as a producer as I am, but they did. They supply me with a mineral pack, or what we call a premix, and then I put the soybean meal and use my own corn in it. It's a great feed. It works really, really good. I also make feed for my chicks when I have them. This year, I will probably offer on a somewhat of a limited basis some day-old chicks to 2 places. I have 2 places that are interested in me supplying them with day-old chicks. I do not work with a tremendous number of breeds. Backyard poultry business is big. It's big. It's huge. Most folks are going to go to Murray McMurray. They're going to look at the catalog. They're going to go through there and they're going to pick 1 of this one and 2 of that one and 3 of this one and 4 of that one. Murray McMurray was the very first ones that allowed you to do that. So you're going to get a whole assortment of chickens of all different kinds, sizes, colors, shapes, and that's great because those folks aren't interested in egg production anyway. They want something for their family to enjoy. Eggs are just a bonus, and that's great. For me, I breed purely for production because I want mine to pay their own way. If you get them, I want someone else to pay their own way. I breed Barred Plymouth Rocks, Park strain. That's an old strain that's been around about 70 years. I've never changed it. It was not mine originally. I've never changed it. I breed some white leghorns. I breed Minorcas. Black Minorcas are probably the main thing that I've concentrated on over the years. Rhode Island Reds, Blue Andalusians, and Anconas. Your Anconas, your Black Minorcas, your Blue Andalusians are all Mediterraneans. They're not going to be as good egg layers as the Leghorns, but they're very good. They're very good. Blue Andalusians, you would think of them in terms of a show bird. That's not what I have. Here, this is a Blue Andalusian. She's a splash. That's Minorcas. This is some breeding males in my Barred Plymouth Rocks. Buff Orpingtons, I breed just a few. I haven't worked nearly as much with that breed. This is a Blue Andalusian male who you see's got some comb damage from last year from the freezing conditions. I can't tell what that is. I think that's some Rhode Island Red Pullets in there. But we have some breeding pens, and it's a lot of work. It's taken a lot of time. You don't move forward very quickly, and there's certainly no financial gain, I can tell you that. Our eggs are sold outside in the refrigerator, and I think you do yours the same way, don't you? Yes. We put a refrigerator outside. Mama says, so everybody's going to steal them. I said, Mom, anybody come here and get eggs and wants to steal them, let them have them. I don't care. So it works good. If anybody stole from me, I don't know of it. Eggs are very, very, there's a certain level it's very difficult to cast. If you've got enough to sell to your neighbor or this or that, that's great. Once you get up to a specific level, it's much harder to move the volume. You would think it'd be very easy. we sell eggs for $3 a dozen. We never went up with the flu virus, all that bird flu deal. We didn't go up. And our sales went crazy. And then what happened in the fall, our hens start molting. Our pullets are supposed to come in October. They didn't, for whatever reason. Couldn't tell you why they didn't lay in right. They didn't. So then everybody thought we quit. So we put a flyer out, our hens are bolting, we'll be right back in business, in a few weeks. So our customers are coming back slowly, but we get, 15, 20 dozen eggs a day right now. So anyway, that's the highlights. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them if I can.
Here's some of your tobacco.
Yes, this is the tobacco in the new package that we have to process in now. This is a grade line we use for tobacco that the stalks put in and the leaves are removed. This is a picture of some tobacco in the field. This is when we were cutting silage up at the grain, where my grain bins are. This is a new trench silo that I constructed this fall. And of course some round bales, and I think this is a shot of the end of my greenhouse that we grow our tobacco plants in.
Is there still profit in tobacco?
More than there is anything else.